Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Shooter Straight Podcast. It's your co-host Zach,
Miko is G.
and welcome back to episode 36. First and foremost, we just wanted to thank y'all for all the previous support we've been getting on the episodes, the special one-off videos we've been making, the clips, everything of that nature. We've been getting a lot of support. We've been getting so much love and so many new subscribers and likes and comments and things of that nature. And we appreciate that support, and we love to see the engagement with y'all. We want to see more engagement with y'all. So we got some feisty topics coming in here today. One of the first episodes we've done after the World Cup officially being over. So some brand new topics and brand new things to debate. So let us know what you think about anything we talk about in the comments down below. And I'll go ahead and let G intro this off here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're glad to be back. This is our first full episode of back to a little bit of normality. We had a little bit two different type of episodes. We like experimenting. We like doing different stuff. But we're glad to be back what we're doing. This is what we like to do. Just having these sit down and just discuss these topics that we have written out.
Yeah, and it's not quite 100% done with the World Cup talk. We got our last little bit of it here, and then probably going to be that's it until
It'll
2026.
be the end till 4 more years.
Yeah, obviously we're already looking forward to that in the United States. I mean, come on, we can't even wait for that. But I think if you're ready, we can go ahead and get into potentially the final World Cup topic of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, and it was a great tournament. But
Yeah, let's get into our that would be our team of the tournament. And I'll give this one off to you. I want to hear who you had for the team of the tournament for the FIFA 2022 World Cup.
obviously, there's so many standout players, so many young, up and rising upcomers that we didn't expect, and also the veterans, the savvy veterans who cemented their place in this spot for me. So for me, I'm going with the 4-3-1-2 kind of variant formation. You could play this multiple different ways. It works in a 4-3-3. Formation doesn't really matter. This is the starting 11 for me that I think would is the best based on everything that happened in this tournament. So in goal, a lot of different players that could go here, but I'm going to go ahead and go with Livkovic from Croatia. I think, look, all things considered, he was the best goalkeeper in this tournament. I think that he had the best save percentage, and it was really between him or Bunu from Morocco. And you could say, Emi Martinez, but the thing with Emi Martinez, he had his clutch moments. Don't get me wrong, and he obviously won the World Cup, but his save percentage wasn't the best, and he wasn't necessarily for me the main reason that was driving this Argentina team to success. It wasn't like he was putting them on his back, making 10 saves and stuff, things of that nature. But we saw Livkovic from Croatia put the team on his back in some points and save their ass. So I got to give him the edge here. I want to give him his props because obviously it's easy to say Emi Martinez or even Bunu because of how good Morocco did. But I think Livkovic, he really cemented himself, and I think he's going to get a big move to a different club, bigger club in Europe after this World Cup. So then, moving, we'll do right back to left back. So, I got Hakimi at right back. It's a no brainer for me. I mean, the fullbacks. I would say there weren't that many standouts per se. It's not like there was a Roberto Carlos right here, anywhere here. But I think Hakimi,
I
he was
think out of the entire tournament, though, yeah, this is the first for sure, the for sure right back. Like there was no really debate of what the right back was going
yeah.
to be.
Yeah, I would just say, considering what Morocco did as a team, you couldn't have done that without Hakimi being the integral part of the team that he is. Not only on the defensive side, but also going forward, he can kind of do it all. And he wasn't necessarily the driving force for this Morocco team's success, but he was an integral part. So being one of the best players on this Morocco team, you got to give him the edge. So then, right center back for me, I got Romero, of Argentina. And for me, I was debating between the Argentina center back pairing here. I was either going to go with Romero or Otamendi. And I gave Romero the edge. Otamendi, don't get me wrong, he had a great tournament. I think, and it was an unexpected great tournament, but I give the edge to Romero because I feel like he made a little bit less key mistakes. If we look back even into the final, Otamendi got absolutely burned by Kolo Muande, and he ultimately gave away the penalty. And he did make some mistakes. He had a great tournament, but I think Romero was just a little bit better. So I give him the edge to make my team of the tournament. And then the left center back, I'm going Gvardiol from Croatia. How many times can I talk about this guy on this podcast? I mean, I love talking about this guy.
My God.
His only fault of the whole tournament was getting skinned by Messi in that world class assist that he ended up having. But besides that, he didn't put a foot wrong. His price tag went up by probably 20, 30 million just because of his performances. He scored a wonder header in the third place game to just seal the deal on what was a great tournament for him. Didn't really put a foot wrong, and he was an integral part of this Croatian defense. So then left back, I got to finish off with both. I got both Morocco fullbacks in here. I got Nasuer Mazraoui as my left back. And once again, I feel like it's similar to the right back. There wasn't too many shouts here of who you're going to put. And I give Mazraoui the edge over Teo Hernandez because, it's not that Teo was terrible, but I feel like, he wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Was at some points a liability defensively for France. And although he did offer some in the attack, I give Mazraoui the edge because I think kind of came out of nowhere and burst onto the scene as, in my opinion, the best left back in this tournament. So that rounds off my back four. Moving into my 3-man midfield, I have to start off with, you could say if they went a little bit further, he would have been the young player of the year award in the World Cup, Jude Bellingham. I mean, how could you not have him in the team? What a tournament he had. And we knew how good this guy was. And we knew the electrifying form he was on for Dortmund, not only in Bundesliga, but in the Champions League as well, scoring every single game, it felt like, from midfield. He continued that straight away in the World Cup. He got that goal against Iran to open up the World Cup. And then, I mean, he just continued to have amazing game after amazing game, did it in the knockout stages. And he, unlucky to be a part of, not go further in this tournament with this English team, because ultimately, France kind of did what they did. Perry Payne bottled it, but
Harry Payne. Yeah, that wasn't good.
not much you can do. But he definitely deserved the spot, in my opinion. Now, there's so many great midfielders, and I had to leave a couple out of my midfield, unfortunately, but I give Bellingham the edge over some of the guys I left out, which you'll find out who they are. Now moving forward to probably this is the more holding midfielder role in my midfield. Got to have Casemiro. What a tournament he was having for Brazil. Being, I would say, arguably the most important player in that Brazil team that was doing so well. And you can point to so many guys on that Brazil team that were important or doing well. Casemiro, he was playing like a man possessed in that midfield. He was doing things that you saw from prime Casemiro, and then he went to Manchester United. How is he really taking it that serious anymore? Well, it's quite clearly he cemented himself as the best midfielder in that Brazil team, by far. And he was running the show, both being able to link the play, but also, helping out on the defensive side of the ball as well. What a tournament he had in Manchester United. And we'll see what they can do going forward with him because they got themselves still a world-class player there in Casemiro. So then, and this one, I was debating. I wanted to put a couple guys here. And I look, there's only so many midfield spots in this team.
I I think midfield was the hardest one
It
to
was
kind
for
of
me. For me, it was the
to
hardest,
decide
and
because so many midfield players. I mean,
it
in the World Cup.
it pains me to leave the guy that I left out of the team, but I couldn't justify not having this guy in my team, and I had to go with Amrabat from Morocco. Had to get him in here. What a tournament he had! He's really cemented himself. He's going to get a big move to a way bigger club than where he's at now at, I think, Fiorentina. What a tournament he had. I mean, thoroughly was the driving force of this Moroccan midfield. Really ran the show, and he did it against the biggest nations as well. I mean, he ran the show against Spain. He did it against Portugal. He continued to prove himself over and over again. What a tournament he had. And obviously the player that I'm talking about that I had to leave out, Luka Modric. I wanted to get him in the team so bad, but I couldn't justify putting him over Amrabat. And like him and Jude Bellingham to toss up, but I give the edge because I think Jude Bellingham even though he played one less game, obviously only went to the quarterfinals compared to the semis, he did more in those games that he did play. He was such an integral part. And obviously Luka Modric is so influential for Croatia, but I feel like what Jude Bellingham was doing, Luka Modric isn't doing at his age. So I got to give Jude Bellingham the edge, but it really does pain me to leave him out.
Okay, yeah.
So then moving forward into in my formation, you could play this guy anywhere, but I got him playing like an attacking midfield role, which is pretty much exactly what he was playing for France. And I didn't think I'd be saying this name, Antoine Griezmann. He thoroughly deserves to be in this team. What a tournament he had. I'm not going to lie, I didn't expect it. I mean, once Nkunku went out and we knew that Griezmann was going to end up being the starter at that attacking midfield over France, I wasn't sure what to expect. He turned back the clock. He looked like 2018 Griezmann. He looked like prime Griezmann.
He looked
He was
pretty good.
he was
But to be fair, he was like he looked very rejuvenated, but it was a different role. He
It
was
was.
playing very differently
It
than how
was.
what prime Griezmann would be. I mean, he wasn't scoring the goals.
Yeah, but he was doing everything else besides that.
Everything else,
It,
even
it,
even defending at points, he
yeah,
was even defending.
we saw that in the final.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
little bit,
a little,
partial of this,
but I
unfortunately.
would say especially we saw that in the semifinal as well. Like
Yeah,
he was
mostly
just
Salah.
he was doing
Well,
it all.
I think versus England, he was France's best player.
Yeah,
Versus England, he was their best player.
and that's crazy to say that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, you have
if you had
Mbappe,
told
you know.
if you had told me that we'd be talking about Griezmann as potentially the best player in some of the most pivotal matches for this France team, I would have said you're lying, just based on everything, the form. He wasn't barely playing at his club, Atletico Madrid, and what a tournament he had. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here with his club now. But moving forward to the two strikers, I mean, come on, we all know who these guys are going to be here. Take your pick on who we talk about first, but I'll go ahead and talk about the main man, Kylian Mbappe, first. He's gonna obviously got to be in the team. Won the Golden Boot. What didn't this guy do? Proved himself to me as potentially being the best player in the world at this very moment. Messi, he's obviously there, right there with them, but Mbappe, what a tournament he had. There's just we've talked about it before. He's already cemented, but they were talking about this guy now as all time great potential, and this World Cup is another big reason as to why. Because what a tournament! I mean, the composure he showed, the finishing ability, the way he was able to show not multiple parts of his game. I never want to hear another person talking about him just as a pace merchant because it's quite
Pace
clear
Richard.
that's just not what he is. He can do it all. And this tournament showed just that. Very unlucky not to potentially win the World Cup, given how well he played in the final, especially in that uh, last 10 minutes of normal time and then going into extra time. Pretty much that 40-minute span, he was absolutely untouchable. No, the Argentina defenders were shaking in their boots.
Yeah,
And then the final player, the main man, Lionel Andres Messi, the Golden Ball winner, the FIFA World Cup champion. I mean, what do I have to say here? There is nothing to say. I've given this guy all his flowers, all the praise. If anyone has a team of tournament without him in there, you don't even deserve to be
well, that
talking
yeah,
about.
then it's not
You
a,
don't.
yeah, it's not even a
It's
team
not
of
a.
tournament
It's not a team of the tournament. You don't deserve to be talking about the sport. I'm not going to sit here and ramble about why Messi had a great tournament and why he's the greatest of all time. I've already done that, so I'll
Yeah,
go ahead
but
and
that could go on for hours. Yeah.
yeah. Now I'll go ahead and pass it to you because I want to see what tweaks you make to your team.
Yeah, I stayed a little silent because I didn't want to give you your chances, to go through your team without me butting in every single time. So I did stay a little quiet, but finally I get to go into mine. So we differ at the goalkeepers. You know, at the beginning, he started to win me over a little bit because I didn't. At first, I was thinking the same thing you were. Who was going to be goalkeeper, but Emiliano Martinez has to be. He has to be in the goal just for what he's almost revolutionized what goalkeepers should be doing in penalty shootouts. And I get that his save percentage in game wasn't the best, but to me, everybody's gonna talk. Everybody will talk about what he did in the penalty shootouts, but just the save that he did just to basically save Argentina in the last dying
Against
seconds.
Colomwani. Yeah.
Yeah, at the last seconds. To me, that erases it all because we're talking about one of the all-time great saves. He saves it with his leg, like fully stretched. At the depths of the game. Like that's it. So that just adds on to the fact that even what he did in the penalty shootouts, he has to get in. And I'm really curious that what's going to happen. Is he going to get a move from Aston Villa? I'm sure Arsenal's kind of kicking themselves that they let this guy go.
They did,
But
yeah.
I'd be really curious. I heard a couple shouts at Man United. With the De Gea's kind of falling out of love.
It's
But
interesting.
we could see. But then moving on to my right back because I'm going to follow the same way you did. I had Hakimi as well. Not really much to be said. I think this tournament Hakimi really proved to me more. Not like he has to prove anything to me. I'm just some idiot. But I think he kind of announced himself in the world that he is the best fullback in the world. Before I thought it was Cancelo, but it's Hakimi. For what Hakimi can do on both sides of the ball, him attacking is just as good as his defending. This guy can get up and down the pitch, and I haven't really seen something like this since like Danny Alves and Marcelo. Like this is really a just electrifying player, and I love to see it because I love seeing right backs get more involved in attack because it's just more of the football I like to see. But going to my left back, I gave it to Theo Hernandez. You know, it was close, it was close, but I think just what Theo Hernandez offered offensively, maybe I'm offensive bias. His defending was definitely not as good as it probably should have been, but I give him a lot of credit for being able to break down and get that goal versus
Morocco.
Morocco. I don't know why I'm at Braveheart, but yeah, he was able to get that goal versus Morocco. Which who would have thought that Morocco so set up well defensively would get broken down by a left back and get scored on within the first 10 minutes. So, I mean, and not to mention that just Dale Hernandez coming into that after his brother tore his ACL the first game to just be immediately thrown into this team and expected to just immediately get it. I give him a lot of credit for that. He had a great tournament. Not a great final, but I think that shouldn't, overshadow everything else he did leading up to that. But the other center back, I had your guy. I had Guardiola. I think Guardiola played very.
Let's
I think even
go.
Guardiola had a very good tournament, other than getting put in a blender by Lionel Messi. But it's Lionel Messi. If you're gonna get
Yeah.
smoked by anybody, you might as well be him. He could join Boateng in that elite echelon of center backs that just got done in. But enough said. I don't really say he had a great tournament. You already went on and harped on him enough. No more talking about Guardiola.
Yeah. It won't be the last time.
It won't be the last time, but the other center back I had was Nicolas Otamendi.
You went with Otamendi, yeah?
I went with Otamendi, and I get that he gave a mare of a penalty in the final. I was like, "What are you doing, son? Just clear the ball." But the fact that he was able to, I didn't even think he was going to be in this Argentina squad at all. I did not see him playing, but for him to do everything, the little things right, he knows he doesn't have the pace, he doesn't have the physicality he had when he was younger. Back when he was on Manchester City, that seems eons ago.
It does,
But
yeah.
he was able to squeeze every last bit of veteran little savviness at the center back position, and I think just his leadership helped a lot in that back line because I think he was the leader in that back line. So I give him the credit, and he makes my team. So that rounds out my back line. So it goes into my midfield. First midfielder up, I'll give the one that we both had the same. I had Jude Bellingham. This one was a real just explosion. If you didn't know about Jude Bellingham before, now you know about him. This kid is, out of this world. He's superstar level. Like this guy, he's 19 years old. He's younger than both of us. Like this is the shit that makes me sad about my life. Like this guy
Where did we
is.
go wrong?
Where did we go wrong? This guy is so good at 19 years old, and I get they didn't give him the young player award because he probably didn't go as far as he should have, but still, for him being that main guy, and arguably, I think when everybody looks back at it, he was England's best player. Like
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think he was England's best player at 19 years old. When you have Harry Kane, one of your England's greatest goal scorers ever, and he was at 19, he was already better than Harry Kane, arguably. So to me, he has to make my team. The other one I had was Luka Modric. Luka Modric at 37 years old has no right to be doing the things that he's doing on the football pitch. For him to basically man this midfield of Croatia and lead them past the favorites Brazil and
Yeah.
lead them, to a third place finish. 2 places in the last, he placed second and placed third in the last 2 World Cups, has to be commended. He's the ultimate spearhead of this team, and I give him very much credit. Maybe
Yeah.
a little bit Madrid bias, but whatever. I don't care.
No,
Luka
I
Modric.
think it's fair. I think for me it was a coin flip. So
Yeah, I mean, Luka Modric is ultimate class. I mean, at 37, like this guy is insane. But the other midfielder I actually had, I kind of have like a 4-3-3-4 attacking, more of a cam. I put Antoine Griezmann
okay,
because
yeah,
I'm showing a bit of veteran love here. I got a couple
yeah,
veteran
we both,
players, and
yeah,
I'm showing my veteran love this one was, nice to see because I remember Antoine Griezmann and his 2016-2015 run, that form of when he played for France and Atletico, that this guy was on top of the world, that he had him cemented as the third best player in the world, right behind Ronaldo and Messi.
yep,
And it was nice for him to, know he had a reality check that he knows he's not the same guy, but he adapted his game perfectly to what this French team needed because it didn't have Pogba, it didn't have Kante to really connect the midfield to the attack. And that's what he did. He took the ball up the pitch, even went back as far as defending. He at points he was a defensive midfielder, bringing it up to as a center forward, as a winger, and he was able to connect so perfectly. And it was refreshing because we always saw Griezmann as the guy to score the goal. He was the guy to finish, be that finisher, but he was able to adapt this game. So I'll
And the
give him
hotline bling
the
celebration
hotline bling. We all remember this guy was hitting every Fortnite celebration ever. So
and the L bands.
maybe it's good that he stopped scoring. And, he found a new passion, but it was nice to see. I'm excited to see what happens when he goes back to Atletico. I don't know what's gonna happen because I think
Yeah, that's a topic in itself.
that's probably another conversation for another time. Just because I think that goes down to Atletico's philosophy, how they play. I think what Griezmann offers at his age right now is not how Atletico play. So
Yeah, I agree with
yeah,
that.
I think that rounds out my midfield, and it's going up to my front three.
I'm interested to
And
see what this is gonna be.
oh, I wonder.
No,
I
no, no.
think we all know
I
two
know
of the
I know
three.
two of them, but
No,
who's gonna
two
be
of
the
the
third?
three. So I think I'll leave that third guy
Yeah,
for the
leave the
last one.
third guy for last. Yeah.
Obviously, I have Kylian Mbappe. What else is there to be said about Kylian Mbappe? I think by when it's all said and done, he's going to be way into the top 10 greatest players we've ever seen. I mean, he's arguably what he's done at just 23. He turned 24, yesterday?
Today.
Like
Today, I
literally
think.
today, he
Yeah.
just turned 24. And it feels like this guy's been playing football forever. I mean,
Yeah.
we've heard so much about Kylian Mbappe. And I think that's almost purposely he wanted to have this big of a tournament because a lot of people were talking about Holland. And I think this does spice up the what's to come. Holland versus Mbappe, because Mbappe, I'm sure, is he's a bit hurt that he didn't win the World Cup when he felt like he should have. I mean, hat trick and you score all your pens. You
Yeah.
do everything you can as a player, but he's taken that spotlight from Holland because Holland unfortunately can't play in the World Cup. He didn't play, so
Yeah.
all the spotlight's back on Mbappe as the best young player in the world. And I've always thought he was always better. He was always the best young player in the world, but
I'm not gonna
then
lie. But coming into the tournament, I was saying Holland, but now I might have swung back to
no, no,
Mbappe.
I always had Mbappe. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Mbappe, but then the other guy, the magic man, the man of dreams, Lionel Messi. There's not much to be said. That's all I have to say. Just Lionel Messi. That's it. The third guy, this one was very difficult. But
Who?
I had Julian Alvarez.
Okay. Okay.
Just for the task he was given to be thrown into this team when we all thought it was going to be Martinez because what he was able to do in the Copa America run
Yeah.
being very vital. But
Even
you
when he
know,
plays like for Inter.
yeah, even when he plays for Inter, I mean, this guy's won titles for Inter. I mean, Inter hasn't won a title in how long? So for Julian Alvarez to be thrusted into this team and to be told, we need you to be the focal point with Lionel Messi to win us a World Cup at his age is remarkable. And just his hustle and what he did for this team, he did everything he had to do to win. He constantly pressed. He was always moving. He was linking the play. Like he had a big play. He had a big role in building the second goal against France to Di Maria. I mean,
Yeah.
he was able to find that pass to McAllister, and McAllister played to Di Maria like that. That's one of the greatest goals we've ever seen in football, period, let alone a final or World Cup. Like that goal was pure football. And, obviously everybody talks about the Messi flick, and obviously Messi's flick was magical, but then the Julian Alvarez to keep it alive and
Yep.
to play it in perfectly to McAllister. Like I give him a lot of credit because he's a very well-rounded nine. Like he's a nine. He can score, but he can
Yeah.
also do other things, which I appreciate. That's something Martinez can't really do. I mean, what could he really do this tournament? I don't even know if he can finish anymore. Like this guy,
That's all he
he
had.
was a bit of a horror show, but Julian Alvarez was just what the doctor ordered, and he did everything he had to do. So I have to give him credit and put him into my team.
That's fair. I mean, obviously, I opted for the extra midfielder. It's really hard to keep some of these guys out of this. I mean, I think anytime when you're picking a team in the tournament, I mean, this is the best of the
Yeah,
best. It's hard to
like
keep players out.
the people that I felt bad, I think honorable mentions, maybe Giroud,
Yeah.
you know, uh, who else? I think Giroud, Hakim Ziyech, and who else? I think I'm having a brain fart now because I wasn't really thinking about it. But there's a lot of great players that we had to unfortunately leave out because it's only 11. Only 11 can be team in the tournament.
You opted for a more attacking lineup, but I feel like Casemiro got a little bit hard done by for you.
No, I mean I think he just kind of Obviously, he had that great goal, I believe, versus Serbia. Was it? Was it Serbia?
I think.
Think
No,
think
no,
was it?
no, no. It was I think it was the
No.
Switzerland game.
Oh yeah, I think it's Switzerland. Yeah, I mean he played well, but I think compared to like Jude Bellingham, Luka Modric, and Antoine Griezmann, it's unfair to compare Casemiro to Antoine
It
Griezmann because they
is,
did
yeah,
completely different things. But like I think I think it more plays into how Brazil left the tournament, so that's
yeah,
why not a lot of the players. I'm not going to give as much credit for Brazil as the team for how they went out. I mean, if it came down to it, like obviously it's like I have Luka Modric in there. Luka Modric was a part of the team that eliminated Casemiro, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll
yeah,
give that to Luka.
yeah. I mean, so many of these are 50-50, but obviously it's fair, and I think it's kind of wrapping up the team of the tournament and just final words on the World Cup in general. What a tournament it was! All these players. There's a couple of these players that have earned moves to bigger clubs, and that's a topic for another day. Like once we really get into these transfer rumors and things of that nature, because
Oh God,
look,
I can't wait for the sagas.
because January is only 10 days away or 11 days or
The
whatever. So
January window's about to open. I mean,
January's
do
window's about to open. We'll
Oh
see who
wait,
we move where.
hold on. You fix these screens, dude. You're talking to I can't be bigger. Fix the screen. That's better.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. I mean, with January about to happen, it's always spicy. I mean, right after the World Cup, every club team is licking their chops trying to pick up the best players from this World Cup.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's exciting. I can't wait to see it.
So before we get into Gareth Southgate, obviously that's a huge talking point after this World Cup and the news surrounding him. I just wanted to ask you because we were just talking about Julian Alvarez and we were also talking about Erling Haaland, and now maybe the question that Pep Guardiola is now facing right there in his face: what does he
He's a
do with Julian
striker
Alvarez and Erling
controversy.
Haaland? Like that's the question. I feel like well, what do you do if you're Pep Guardiola with both of these guys? Like you got Julian Alvarez, you got Erling Haaland. Look, you could just let Alvarez ride the bench in the first part of the season. I don't think you can do that anymore.
Yeah, especially for this World Cup. What an embarrassment of riches Manchester City have. Manchester City literally, they've for the past 3 seasons they've had entire like they have two squads that could make top four. Like they have their second team could make top four in the Premier League. That's good. Embarrassment of riches have, and I mean it's a good one to have. I mean you have Julian Alvarez and you have Erling Haaland. Julian Alvarez is probably a very informed striker at the moment, but I mean maybe you cash in. I think. I mean, does City really need any more money? I mean, do they really need more money? But shit, hold on. Whew. But it's I really don't know what happens. I know a lot of teams are going to be vying to get Julian Alvarez, but it's going to be up to City if they want to let him go.
Yeah, and I think look, this is the question that every manager kind of wants to. They always say they want to be put in this position where they've got this kind of problem, but then once you're actually put in the position, you're kind of kicking yourself like, what do you do? And if I'm Pep
And
Guardiola,
like it's one of
no,
those
no,
things as well. Like I don't fancy Holland that highly, but you have to have Holland over Julian Alvarez. I mean, let's not. I'm not going to go as far. I'm not a Holland fan, but I'm not going to say Julian Alvarez had to be starting um, over Holland. I think it's one of those things that if it were me, if I were Pep Guardiola, I'd just be looking maybe to cash in on Julian Alvarez, give him to another club because I think it's a waste of talent to have him sitting on the bench.
yeah, look, I think if I'm Pep Guardiola and I'm Manchester City with this problem with Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland, you got to do something here. So I'm either getting rid of him, or either cashing in on this money because I mean, just imagine how much higher his price tag has went since this World Cup. Compared to they got
Probably
him
like a
for
60
basically
million,
they
65
got him for pennies on the dollar. From River Plate, to come in, and
River
now
Plate.
now think about how high that price tag is. So if I'm him, I'm either doing that or I got to find a way to get them both in the team. I don't know, trying in a two striker formation, switching it up.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does that and
But
tries
who do
that
you
maybe in the
bench?
cup.
I mean, who do you
It's
bench?
well, I think potentially you ease Mahrez a little bit more out of the team. I think you can Mahrez is droppable. Mahrez is droppable. I don't think that's crazy to say.
I
Right
mean,
now
it'd be
I'm
weird
taking
for
Julian Alvarez over Mahrez.
yeah, but I mean, Pep Guardiola's always loved the 4-3-3.
He has. I
difficult to
wouldn't be
hit
su
the.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him play, Alvarez on the wing potentially.
You
He's played
could.
there before. He's played there before. Obviously for Argentina, he was playing the more central, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him try him out on the wing. I don't think Pep Guardiola just lets him go without trying him out first, at multiple positions to find a way to see if he can get in the team properly. I don't I would be shocked if like he might try out a new formation in the cup games, and see how it
Yeah,
goes.
that's where he likes to experiment.
But I think he's gonna be trying many different things to figure out exactly what he wants to do. And I would be shocked if they do sell him in January. I think they're gonna let it ride
Yeah,
with
no,
this
I definitely
season.
don't think he's getting sold in January. I just think maybe at
Exactly.
the next year they could.
Yeah, exactly. I think that you experiment, you try him out in multiple different ways, new formations, and see what you can do. If it doesn't work, you cash out in the summer. If it works, then you continue on like that. I think that's the best way to go forward if I'm Pep Guardiola with this plethora now of attacking talent. I mean, it's more of a question of who do you drop other you know what I mean, because you got 5 6 guys who could be starters, so it's like who are you gonna elect to go to the bench? I mean, it's the plethora and riches that Manchester City have. It's disgusting. It's not even fair. But the final Manchester City question, and I want to make this into a Manchester City podcast here, but I hinted at this question off camera, and I want to hear your thoughts on this because we all know how electrifying Erling Haaland was pre World Cup and the terrorizing form he was on. So I want to go ahead and get your thoughts on if you think Haaland can pick right back up where he left off with his electrifying form, or will he hit a wall, or will it be take him a couple games to restart? What do you think?
No, I think he'll pick up where he left off. I mean, this guy's been basically going crazy with the football. I mean, I saw him basically. It's a bit of him, putting faces on this guy's need to play football. He's urges to play, club football again because obviously he was not in the World Cup, so he had to take that. He had a bit of a vacation, a bit of a holiday, but he's licking his chops to get back, and I think he's gonna get back to fire and get back to what he's been doing because I mean it's hard not to put up the numbers you as good as you are as a striker, but in this city, in the situation that he is, he's gonna get clear cut chances. He's gonna get things put on a plate for him. So I mean, as good as he is, he's gonna pick up where he left off.
Yeah, I think all things considered, I just saw a YouTube video yesterday of Haaland on Sky Sports talking about how he's chomping at the bit to get back to it, and I think that epitomizes exactly what he's going to do when he comes back, and when he, when club football officially comes back and Manchester City are playing consistently. I think he's going to terrorize the Premier League just like he was doing before. I believe he is going to break the 38 game record for goals easily. He's already easily on pace to break it. And he's potentially on pace to break the 42 game record in 38 games. I mean, and that's unprecedented. We're talking about breaking a 42 game record in 38 games. I mean, some would say that they never thought that record was going to get broken. And it might. Erling Haaland might actually come for it. I expect him to pick up right where he left off, and I expect him to terrorize the Premier League because look, I know Kevin De Bruyne, the guy who's going to be sending them in these crosses and sending him in these chances. He's chomping at the bit to re-establish himself on the top of the footballing grades because of how bad of a World Cup he had and how bad Belgium did. He's wanting to, get back into the side and prove himself. So I think
De
there's a
Bruyne
lot
gets
of.
to switch out Lukaku for Holland.
I think that all of these guys, Haaland, De Bruyne, they're all looking to pick right back up where they left off for club, and that's what I expect them to do. Honestly, bro, I feel bad for the team that's facing Haaland first. I don't know who it is. When Manchester City come back, I feel bad for that first Premier League team because I think he could be scoring a hat trick on them. He's just gonna put him straight to bed. I think he's chomping at the bit, eager. That's what I expect him to do. And now with the club football coming back, probably next episode, things of that nature, we'll start previewing some of these leagues and going forward. What do we think is going to be happening here? Because obviously the World Cup is over, and I think that is the perfect segue to get into. I mean, this is an international talking point. This is something that we've been talking about for years, you could say at this point. It's I didn't think we'd be having this conversation. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't.
I
But
well, to be fair, I did right after we left the pub. I told you that what's basically happened.
you know, look, we'll just go ahead and officially announce it here. Gareth Southgate is going to be staying on as England manager. It's a move that, yeah, to me, look, we'll give my opinion on it. Let's just go ahead and pose the question here. Do you agree with the English FA's decision to keep Southgate on board as the England manager, or should they have parted ways?
Absolutely not. I think it's a atrocity. I think it's the worst decision they could have possibly made because I mean, well I wanted him gone, but I knew he wasn't because we immediately left. I mean, after the game, I knew they weren't going to get rid of him. The FA are looking at this as a good thing. Obviously, Southgate's always been a yes man. He's always going to be a yes man. And the FA were like, oh my God, look how good he did against France. When realistically, a lot of English fans, the defense they go to defend Southgate is that they say England fans are too entitled, that they think they're rating their team higher than what they actually are, which is not true. Player for player, England had the best squad in this World Cup. Player for player, they had the best squad. That's to me that player for player, they had the best team. And where they went wrong was tactically. Because in that game versus France, how are you only making changes around the 75th minute? Look, it obviously was a point to where England had good control of the game within the first 45. They controlled that game fairly well, but it started to slip. When it starts to slip, Gareth Southgate has to make a change. He has to bring on different players. When you see Harry Kane's not really there, he's not all there, you have to make a change. Even though he's Harry Kane, he's one of the greatest goal scorers England's ever had. You have to make a change. You have Rashford, you have Grealish, you have these guys on the bench. And when you go to make a substitution, you sub off Saka, who's been your best player, for Raheem Sterling, who went back to London. He's barely been in Qatar. He left Qatar midway. Obviously, not his fault. His house got burglarized. But how? What is that thought process? You put in Raheem Sterling? What age are you living in? And I think how it comes down to how these players play within the game as well. They're just there's stuff that's left on the table. But I knew the FA was not going to get rid of Southgate, even though they should have, because even the what Southgate pitched the FA was that he's like, give me time to build this team up, and his goal was to win this World Cup. He told the FA, give me time, and by this World Cup, by Qatar, I'll win the World Cup. He didn't deliver. He has not delivered on what he said his plan was. He did not fulfill the plan that they set out. And they should have. It's not like England didn't have the players. We're not talking about an England team that had nobody. You had everybody you needed. You had all the tools in your toolbox, but you couldn't deliver because your tactics weren't correct. You did not make the right changes when you had to. And, I think it's going to come down. If the FA don't sack him, if England don't win the Euros in Germany, which they should, it's going to really come down to France versus England again. But I mean, if France don't, if England don't get that done, you just can't have him going on because you're wasting this golden generation of English talent. This is the greatest bit of talent they've ever had. I mean, to say that is, that when they had Wayne Rooney, Lampard, Gerrard, all these guys, to say this is the best crop of talent in England, that's a lot to say. And, I just don't want to see them waste it with Gareth Southgate, a guy who doesn't deserve to, be the manager of that team. I mean, I forget the stat that it was. I saw on Sky Sports that was when Gareth Southgate has played 24 teams within FIFA's top 10 rankings and only won 4. He's only won 4 games against the top 24 in the top 10. This is unacceptable. And you can't compare it to past England managers. Be like, oh, look what they did. He's better than those guys. Look, did those guys have this team that Southgate has now? No, so it's uncomparable. But enough of me rambling. I sound like an Englishman, dude. It's not even that deep. It's
You
just
sound like Rory.
I hate the waste of talent. I don't. Every time I see, because I wish my country had this talent. I wish we had the embarrassment of riches that the English had. But I'll let it to bed and pass it off to you.
Look, but before I get into what I'm going to say about Gareth Southgate, I will say I give credit to Southgate first of all for doing the impossible. He didn't play five at the back against France like
He did
some
the
of us thought he
possible.
would. You said you thought he would. I got to give him credit for at least not doing that.
He did not play final. He beat the mighty Iranians, dude. He beat the stout. He beat all those
But
great teams.
that's as far as my credit for Gareth Southgate goes here. Oh my god, I cannot. But okay, I can believe that they've done this just based on what I know about the English FA. But I can't believe that there's really people that can sit there in the boardroom and say that this gives the guy to lead this team going forward. It's dumbfounding. First of all, this English team with the talent that they have, you're over here saying that he's done well to get to where they got. What, they beat Iran? They beat Wales? They tied to the United States and they beat Senegal. And they lost to the
They beat
first good
Senegal.
team. They lost to the first really good team that they played in the World Cup. The first team that had a chance to actually beat England, they lost to. What and if you're looking at Southgate's tenure, we're looking at teams that actually have the talent to beat you. They always lose the games. We're talking Croatia. We're talking I mean, and then even
Talking Iceland. I mean, we'll go far as back at the we're talking Iceland.
but no, but that's what I'm going to say about Iceland is we're also going to they've underperformed sometimes against teams that, like we said, like the Senegals, like the teams that they should be beating. You can't lose to Iceland. You can't. You can't do it. You just can't do that. The only team that you can give them credit as they beat a big nation to move forward and progress was Germany, and
I don't
this is a
count it.
weakened
No, I,
Germany.
I don't count
No,
it. I don't count it. Don't
well,
want to hear
hold
that.
on, hold on. That's the only one that you can say, okay, well, Germany's a big nation. But this is not the same Germany. Let's not act like this is 2014 Germany. This is a Germany that can't make it out of the group
Yeah,
stage.
a
This
German
is a
team.
fraudulent Germany. This is a shell of themselves. This is Germany that this is basically this is Germany's youth academy. Like they're not even real players at this point. They are frauds compared to what they used to be. So if a Southgate supporter is going to come out here and say that, oh well, we beat Germany to progress in the Euros, I'm not having it. I am not having it. This is what that's not your standard. You should be easily beating that Germany team. I'm putting them in the same bracket as Iceland at this point. Like I'm not having it. Any team that they could that actually has the player for player squad capability of beating you, they lose to. And that's my problem with Gareth Southgate. Gareth Southgate will get it done against the teams he should beat for the most part. He will get it done against those teams, the Irans, the Wales. He's not going to really mess it up too much against those teams. He can mess it up, but I'm not betting on it. But as soon as you play a team that has quality, as soon as you play a team that has the player for player talent to keep up with you and your amazing squad, it's over. You lose. And I don't care if we played better, we created more chances, we
You fucking
dominated the
lost.
game.
You lost.
You look at the scoreboard and you lost. And that's not good enough. You've had more than enough time. You have had more than enough time to show that you can beat these teams. And with this squad, and also given how you played against France, you should have won that game. So you can sit up here and you can say that, well, they looked good. Well, they showed improvement, whatever you want to say. There's no time for that. You should have been winning something by now. And this guy has proven that when it comes to the biggest matches, you cannot count on Gareth Southgate to get it done. And given the squad that England have, you need a guy that you can count on tactically, but also to coach up these players properly in the big moments. And you cannot count on Gareth Southgate to do that. He can put them in a somewhat good position, but then he will go ahead and mess it up. And look, if you want to say that he had the English team playing well against France, okay, I can give you that, whatever. But then he goes ahead, and the tactical decisions he makes with substitutions cost them the game. Bukayo Saka gets subbed off. That's your best player. He was the by far and away best player on the field for
Phil
England.
Foden should have came off. Phil Foden should have came off. Not,
And you cannot sub off Saka, who, look, I think Teo Hernandez is still having nightmares about playing Saka. He can't go to sleep at night without thinking about how terrorizing Saka was against you. And you go ahead and sub him off? That's a disgraceful switch. I don't understand what was going through his head. And we talked about that right after the match. Like we said that doesn't make any sense. So, look, whether you want to look at the tactics or whether you want to look at the history, whatever you want to look at, whatever metric of success you're looking at, this guy is not the guy to get it done. He's just not. I like I said, I can believe that, basing what I know about this England squad and the lack of ambition they show with the FA and things of that nature. I can believe that they've done this, but they are going to waste another golden generation. They aren't winning the Euros. They're just not. And they should.
They should.
They should.
They definitely
Think
should.
about we're talking about this England team as good as they are right now. Think about it in 2 years. Think about how much more developed Phil Foden will be. Jude Bellingham. Think about how much
You have
better.
Declan Rice.
Think
I
about
mean,
how much
you
better
have
this.
Rashford.
This squad is only getting better. And look, when you've got Gareth Southgate as the manager, it doesn't matter. You could Phil Foden could turn into Messi. Doesn't matter.
But we will have to wait, because what I think their biggest danger is going to be that French team. It's going to be what looks to be, it's going to new head coach Zinedine Zidane. So we're going to have to see how that translates. But I mean,
If
still
that happens, yeah.
the players that they have, they're still. I mean, Tchouameni is only going to get better. Kamavinga is going to only get better. God knows what Mbappe is going to do in 2 years. My God, like we're talking like Mbappe in 2 years could be already within the top 10 players of all time. Like, this is how good this guy is. And obviously you still have, a somewhat Kingsley Coman, who played very well when he got subbed on.
Except for
And,
missing the pen.
except for missing the pen, but, all fair. He played very well. But, this French team, they have another embarrassment of riches. But if you're England, you got to be getting it done. I mean, this French team is not unbeatable. We just saw them lose. I mean, they're not unbeatable. This England team is good enough to beat them, but with Southgate, they're not. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, it's not going to happen. And I think a prime example of just how important a manager can be in international play. Let's go ahead and look at Argentina, the winners of this World Cup. Let's think about what this nation was able to do pre-Lionel Scaloni and post-Lionel Scaloni. Pre-Lionel Scaloni, they were bottlers. If they were even lucky enough to make it far enough to become the bottlers, they were against Chile, and then bottled 2018 World Cup. I mean, look, they were not able to get it done in any competition. They get Scaloni to come in. Now they've ran the table, win Copa America, win Finalissima, win the World Cup, and we'll see what they're able to do going forward. I mean, who's betting against them? I mean, they've won everything that they can win at this point. I'm not betting against them. This is pretty much the same squad. I mean, they got a few new players, but they've changed tactically. They have a new man leading the way, and it's everything has changed. A manager can change the whole dynamic of the team. It can change everything. That's the perfect example. If I'm England, you got to look at this and say, look at Scaloni, what he did to this Argentina team, and think about what Argentina was before Scaloni. The same thing could happen to England. The same thing could happen to them if they got a proper manager. We could be talking about having the same conversation. Think about what they did with Southgate, and now think about what they did with fill in the blank, whoever replaces him.
Yeah, somebody.
Like it's just, we know how
And the
important
manager
a manager is, but
managers available right now, like I can't remember. It's been a long time since there's been this many top level managers available. Like Thomas Tuchel, you still have Maurizio Pochettino. Like, you have these great. Like, those are very good managers, and I doubt they're going to be left out there for much longer. I mean,
yeah, no, I 100%
am I
agree.
lagging? Am I lagging? I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
no.
lagging. Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just like delayed or some shit.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, basically, I'm pretty sure that that's pretty much wraps up the Gareth Southgate kind of conversation here. I mean, we both agree on it for the most part. I think you know, it's a disgrace what they've done, and
Yeah.
I think it's we can go ahead and move forward into the final football topic of this episode, and it's a topic that, look, this is something that you can give and you can talk about for years to come. People have already talked about it for years. This is a topic that will be talked about for hundreds of years to come. It's a never ending topic. It's always growing, always new opinions, and that's why we wanted to go ahead and give our take on it, because obviously things have changed just even recently in this list based on some events that have occurred. Obviously, Messi has won the World Cup, so we wanted to go ahead and drop our top 10 football players of all time list. And I think it's fair to just go ahead and get straight into it. No messing about, no beating around the bush here. I
No
want to
beating
go
around
ahead.
the bush. Yeah.
I want to go ahead and get your top 10 list of the greatest footballers of all time.
All right, going on right into the first of the top 10. I got Ronaldinho at 10, Garincha at 9, 8 Di Stefano, 7 Johan Cruyff, 6 Zinedine Zidane, 5 Maradona, 4 Pelé, 3 R9 Ronaldo El Fenomeno, number 2 Cristiano Ronaldo, and number 1 Lionel Messi.
Not what I expected your list to be. Not going to lie here.
The valid list. That's a true man's list.
So do you want to explain more of your list? Or do you want me to give my list?
I think you should give your list, and then we'll talk about our contradictions, and then we'll be able to get a chance to question each other's our placements of each player.
Okay, so starting from 10, I got number 10, George Best. Number 9, Maldini. Number 8, Pele. Number 7, Garincha. Number 6, R9. Number 5, Johan Cruyff. Number 4, Zinedine Zidane. Number 3, Diego Maradona. Number 2, Cristiano Ronaldo. And number 1, Lionel Andres Messi.
Okay. The only real head scratcher out of yours is Maldini.
He's the best defender of all time. You got to have Maldini in the top 10.
Maldini.
If you're going to have any defender in your top 10, for me, it has to be Maldini. It has to be. He's the best
Like
defender of all time.
I, it'd probably be a conversation him or Beckenbauer, but I guess to
Look,
I
I left out some guys, bro. Like, you could say, oh, I should have had Di
obviously you left
Stefano.
out some
I
guys.
should have
You left Di
had.
Stefano out because you're a Madrid racist, basically. If being racist to a club was a thing, you'd be that. But you know, other than maybe I think the bigger one people are going to be looking at is that you had Garincha over Pele.
Oh,
And
bro, we got it, bro. That's no debate.
look, and I'm probably not the right person to be having this conversation with because I've talked to you this many times behind camera that I always think Garincha never gets as much credit as he deserves. But just the sheer fact that Pele has all the records, he has the goal accolades, that's something that Garincha does not have compared to Pele. That he doesn't have that 1,000 goals or
Of course not.
God
No,
knows how many goals Pele has. But
no, he doesn't.
you know, that's why I did have Garincha in my top 10. I think he deserved to be there because hearing people describe how Garincha played even back in the day was like, this guy was the greatest dribbler to ever walk planet Earth. So,
Yeah.
this guy was class and he played a huge role in that second World Cup, in the second World Cup that Pele has that he only played like a couple handful of games in the group stage
And then
and
he
then
was
getting injured.
injured.
It was the Grinch show. So,
Yeah,
that one, I'm not going to give you much flack for that one because I can understand why, but obviously I give Pele up there because I just love Pele as a human being. I appreciate what he's done to the game.
if you go on the streets of Brazil, you are hearing that how underrated Garrincha was. Look, like, besides the fact that I also agree with what you say, Garrincha severely underrated. Obviously because he was playing with Pele, who gets all of the credit. I would say because the stats are what the stats are. He has 3 World Cups. He has over 1,000 goals, and I mean,
1,000 girls too.
1,000 girls too. But he has 1,000 goals, and to be fair, it's 1,000 goals and counting because he goes in his backyard
He's
and
still
scores a couple
scoring.
more.
He's
But
still scoring.
my thing is, Eusebio himself said that he thought Garincha was a better player. Pele has said that Garincha could do things that he
To
could never
be
do.
to be fair though, Pele says that about everybody. I swear to
He
God, I've seen him say this about every single player that's
he
ever
does,
played. That say that he's
and
better than
obviously that's Pele being humble. But Eusebio, he doesn't have a thing in a boot in the race.
doesn't
You know
have
what I mean?
a hat in the ring.
And he went out of his way. He said he thought Garincha was the better player. And look, I think that's why I have them right there next to each other. You could flip flop them. You could say Pele 7, Garincha 8, or you could say Garincha 7, Pele 8. I think look, they were probably that's why they're interconnected. They played around the same time, and Pele doesn't have 3 World Cups if it's not for Garincha. He doesn't. And you could say the same, about Garincha. He probably doesn't do what he's able to do without Pele. So they kind of are intertwined, but I think I want to give Garincha the credit he deserves, and I think I'm backing Eusebio. He knows
Back
ball.
in
I'm
Eusebio.
backing Eusebio. He himself said Garincha was the better player. So I think it's not crazy to have Garincha over him. I think the thing what people would say about me having Pele is not having him higher on the list. Having him at number
Yeah.
8. Obviously, I think people are going to question that, but to me, I don't think you can convince me that Pele is better than R9. Pele is better than Johan Cruyff, better than Zinedine Zidane, better than Maradona. I don't even think like to me. I don't know if
I
I could be
I th-
like I don't
I
know if I
think
could be convinced of
Pele
that.
is comparable with Maradona. I think that
Comparable,
because obviously
comparable,
in
but
my list
the
I have
better player
Pele just better than Maradona, but obviously that was a debate on itself when Maradona was coming up
playing.
through play. That was a bit of
Yeah,
a beef. I mean, I remember watching a video on that they started off like really liking each other, but obviously Maradona towards the later end of his career was a bit of like a black sheep per se, but I think another thing within my top list, I had R9 very highly.
you
El
did. Where
Fenomeno,
did you have him? Number 3?
number 3. And unfortunately, we didn't have the ability to see him have as long as a career as we would want to. But when he was here, my God, was he here? This guy was, people thought Erling Haaland was this, record breaker. R9 Ronaldo was Haaland before Haaland was born. Like R9 Ronaldo had the skill of Ronaldinho, the finishing of Ronaldo, and the that Brazilian flair that every Brazilian have. Like this guy was scoring literally anywhere on the pitch. Anywhere on the pitch. As soon as the guy touches the ball, he's a goal threat. And it's unfortunate that he was martyred with injuries and health issues. I mean, we all know
Yeah,
what he that the controversy that was him playing in that World Cup final where Nike were forcing him, or that he was having seizures before the game. It's unfortunate,
yeah.
but I rate him very highly as one of the greatest players to ever play the game, even though he didn't play for as long. I mean, when he was here, just God, he was perfection. That's why they gave him the name El Fenomeno, just
Yeah,
how good he was.
I think R9 at his peak, which and I think for thing like the thing is,
It
at his
depends how
peak
you look at like top 10. Like I think his peak is like
was higher
is
than
hot.
most.
Like if we're talking about purely peak, I think his peak is possibly even better than Cristiano Ronaldo. Like it's up there. Like his peak, it's hard to like rate people by their absolute peaks, but
Yeah,
I think his in my list carries him very high up that list.
yeah. I'm not gonna sit here and say that. Like I got R9 at number 6 on the list, partially because I'm not looking at it just based on the very
The
peak of the
peaks, you're
mountain
looking
that
at
he
more
hit,
like
but
yeah.
I'm also looking at how long was he able to be at that peak, and where like how did he fall off, things of that nature. And I'm not gonna lie here. I watched the 2002 World Cup final a few weeks ago. It popped in my YouTube recommendation, and I watched it. And he did score two goals in that match towards the end of the match, but the amount of chances he missed, and I was like, dang, bro, is R9 a fraud, bro? And then he ended up doing what he did, but I was like, this guy was a phenomenal player. but I don't have him. I don't have him as highly as you do. I can't say that I got him over Maradona. I can't say that, but that takes away nothing from how great of a player he was. Because at his peak, if injuries didn't derail him, he is probably that number three, no doubt, and he probably could be even number two if injuries never derailed him. Probably could still be up there with having a resume like Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't think
Yeah.
that's crazy to say, but for me, he falls a little bit down there, but I'm still taking him over Pele. I'm still taking him over
Just
Garincha.
taking him over Pele and Garincha.
Like let's
Yeah.
not get too.
I
I'm not
did
gonna
as
get too
well.
carried away and say that R9
I
is
think
bad.
you had Zidane at 4. I had him at 6. I think that's that's comparable. I think Zidane is another one where like not a lot of people talk about. I don't hear Zidane a lot in
Because I
like
think,
you know
especially recently, because of I think what he did as a manager potentially has outshined what he did as a player,
yeah, because
which is crazy to say.
100% Zidane has the greatest overall career in in like almost sports, just because this guy one did everything he did as a player, and then won 3 Champions Leagues in a row. Like, who does
As a
this?
manager. And
And
and he basically just walked away from that team, and he hasn't
he
come
just
back to
walked away.
management since. And rumors are having it that he's coming for that France job. And
And I'd
imagine
like
how
to see
much
him there.
better his resume is going to
Look,
get.
if he wins a World Cup, I don't even know what to like. It, I don't even know what to say to be honest, man. Like this guy was, I had him. For me, it was like with this top 10, it's very difficult. I think, top 10 in football is the most difficult top 10 to make within any sport just because of how, how old football is. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
original sport. I mean, how many, compared to any other sport, it's the longest it's ever been. And I think my 4 through 10 there could be interchangeable like
Yeah, I
no
agree with that.
and it's like mine came down like Johan Cruyff or Zidane. It's so hard to compare those two. I mean, how it's Johan Cruyff. He has a move named after him. Like it's
That's
the
what I'm saying.
Cruyff turn.
Like realistically, my 4 through 6 of Zidane at 4, Cruyff at 5, and R9 at 6. If you rearrange that in any order, you could agree with it. It's not blasphemy. It's like those guys are so close and they're comparable, and that we all know how good they were. So
And another one I did want to mention that wasn't on your list. I had Ronaldinho, and
yeah,
that was another one similar to R9 to El Fenomeno that his career did not last as long as it should have. Partially due to his own doing. That wasn't mostly health. It was like his life choices, but
I,
I think I've never seen a more skilled human being in my entire life than Ronaldinho.
if I were to have a number 11, it would be Ronaldinho. For me, I'm a little bit biased because I do like George Best as a player, and I feel like he's an underrated baller. I had to get him in my top 10 because
I think weirdly enough, George Best and Ronaldinho are kind of like. I mean,
they're comparable.
unfortunately, like the choices they made in their lives were kind of. They both had like a drinking problem,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But they are comparable footballers. But I'm gonna ride with the old side. Just anybody that's never watched football, just watch a Ronaldinho highlight reel. Like this shit is like out of a video game. Like this is like something that you think is not not allowed, not possible, and you know he fully defines what a Brazilian player is. He defines that samba style of football. He is the most purest Brazilian, and it's so unfortunate. Someone with so much talent because I think he was just born with this talent that other people weren't, compared to like, maybe like a Messi or Ronaldo. Like those guys had to work very hard to get to where they were. Ronaldinho just had that. Like, this is stuff you're just born with. This little flick in your brain to have, your this touch with the ball. And he was gorgeous to watch, but he didn't last as long. But I do have to give him my props as on his day, top 10 greatest players to ever play the game.
So where did you have Maradona on your list? 6?
No, no, no. I'm Maradona 5.
5?
Just not my top 5. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
yeah.
Uh,
Like
not too crazy.
I yeah, not that crazy.
Once again, I think you showed a little bit of your attacking bias. I had to sneak a defender in there.
It's sneaker defender. I was debating a goalkeeper. I was gonna put Iker Casillas at that
Yashin?
10 because
Iker
not Yashin,
Casillas?
but Iker Casillas. Look. We're talking about the greatest keeper ever. This is Iker Casillas. That's him. This guy's literally won everything. A part of probably the most winning Spanish team what no winning national team ever that spanned of where they won the Euros, World Cup, and then Euros. That's the most dominant run by a nation we probably ever seen, other than to the early Brazil days. But if I was going to put anybody, it was going to be him. And obviously, like as a defender, it's either Maldini, Beckenbauer, or Sergio Ramos. But I feel like that's too much of a bias to throw Sergio Ramos in my top 10. So I'm somewhat self aware, so I'm not gonna go that far into another one. You know, I had my bias and I had Di Stefano in there, but it's Di Stefano, man. I mean, that I have
No,
Di Stefano, the amount of goals
I
this
want to
guy
make
did,
a.
and this another guy, Pele said Di Stefano was the greatest player he's
He
ever
did.
seen. So I mean,
He
that's
did.
what Pele.
I want to I want to use that as the segue to make a point that I've been wanting to make here, and it's
Oh
a point
God,
that look. I obviously I have a couple in here. I have a couple old timers. I got Garincha, I got Pele, and even you could say George Best. He played in the 70s. That's kind of old.
you're ageist.
No, but what I'm gonna say here is for somebody like me and you, it's very, very difficult to have a true opinion on a Di Stefano, on a Pele, on a
Because it's
Garincha.
all a word of tongue of
It's
what we've
word of
heard.
mouth. It's you can watch some. The thing is highlights. I don't like. I love watching highlights, but highlights don't tell you the full story. If you would just watch the highlights of, for example, with the match I talked about earlier, the
Ronaldinho.
2002 World Cup, R9 looks like the greatest striker of all time, but when you watch the full match, he missed chances. He missed some chances. So if you can cut up any highlight any way to make a guy look phenomenal, like the greatest player of all time, you really have to sit there and watch a guy fully, like the full match. What does he do off the ball? Is he wasteful in his chances? And the highlights don't always tell that as a full story because we're watching a Pele highlight reel. We're gonna see we're
There
gonna
was
see
barely
a thousand
cameras
goals.
back then.
We're gonna see 1,000 goals. We're gonna see all the brilliant skill moves. But we're not gonna see when he lost the ball, when he missed some tap in, some easy chances, and that's what paints the full picture here. So where I'm getting at this is it's very, very difficult to have a true opinion, and that's just why. Like, look, anybody that's our age, and even we're getting to like if you're 40 or whatever, how can you have like such a hard opinion on some of these 1950s and 60s players? Like you weren't there, like
They were
it's
there.
like so maybe it is a little bit of bias from me, having Pele at 8, having them at 7, but a lot of that was because I think that I have them at that point because I don't think that these guys would be where that they are if they played in the modern game. So I think that puts them falling down my list a little bit, and then also it's that combined with the fact that I can't really give a true opinion on these guys because it's not like I can go back and watch a bunch of Pele games, but there's barely any cameras.
There wasn't
You
camera.
can
I
see the
mean, we're
highlight
watching
reels of
black and
what's
white.
around. You can find some stuff, but for the most part, like my point is like you know, if you talk to your granddad if you really want to hear about Pele, and that's the point. You told me, your mom had said that when she watched it, but Garrincha was better than Pele. You got to go with
Well,
word of mouth
let
sometimes.
let what as obviously my mom did not watch them. She like it's a thing that got passed down. It gets passed down. Obviously, your grandparents pass it down to how like she was told that like, and that's what she believes that Garincha was so highly because obviously she grew up in Peru. It's closer, in that South American region where they talk about their South American greats, and Garincha gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah. And so basically that's the point that I'm trying to make here. Like I don't like I'm not gonna complain about anybody having a Di Stefano in their list or having a Pele at number 1 or whatever. But how can you really have a true opinion on these guys? Like I just don't quite understand that. Like because you'll see people who die on the hill of saying Pele number 1, bro, or like
But
you like having a bunch of 1950s
even yeah,
players
even
in there. Like
before this, we were looking at a lot of top 10 lists, and I still think it's blasphemy that I ran into this list that had Maradona still above Messi, and they literally have the updated picture of Messi holding the World Cup. It's like, on what basis Are you going off of that Maradona is still better than Messi? What does Messi have to do, man? But like, look, that's the only thing. Look, if I ever ask anybody their top 10 and it doesn't start with Messi, then I'm kind of already tuned out. I'm not actually there.
And
You
I'll even
you can
add
tell
to
me
that,
whatever. I don't care if you're 80 years old, dude.
if
You
it
were
doesn't
old enough
start
to
with
see
Messi
Messi.
and Ronaldo, Ronaldo's got to be two. I'll add to
You
that.
know, I'll give them a little leeway. You know, if you want to, if this is like maybe like a 60-year-old guy telling me oh you weren't around to see this or this and that, that's fine. But there's only one. There's one you have to get right, and that is the number one top guy. That's the one person you have to get right. I don't care. I love Cristiano, but I'm willing to sacrifice him if they, if we're just gonna can we all come to this consensus that there's only one number one? There's no debate. And this is something I saw a little, I don't know just how as people are. I don't know if one game is going to convince people that, it's like the same thing that we talk about Ronaldo and Jordan. Like, is there anything if you're
Ronaldo and
already
Jordan.
no. LeBron and Jordan. My bad. LeBron. That's what I meant. LeBron and Jordan. That like, is there if you're a Jordan supporter and if you think Jordan's your GOAT, is there anything LeBron can do to surpass Jordan? Because if you kind of already set in to what you believe, as people, as kind of how we are, we're never really gonna change. And I think the people that didn't think Messi was the GOAT before still don't think he's the GOAT now, even that he won the World Cup. Even
There
though
are
it's gonna
some
be
people who flip flop though. Some
yeah,
people.
like I don't know if I think
I've seen some people
if
on social media.
I think there's a couple people I've seen a couple of YouTubers, but it's like even if like I think it's a bit silly that it took them that long because it's something
I agree with.
we've already known.
I agree with that.
Like we already know, but I think it's a bit silly that okay, it took him winning this one game to prove that to you, but like he's kind of already been this for the past 15 years. Like he's
Yeah.
been this, but I can still understand that like how people are. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be convinced that after that, but I think it's more to the point to where it's just more ridiculous. It's just going to be more like if someone still doesn't think Messi's the goal, it's going to be like, okay, now you're just talking out your ass, man. I mean, there's just no point.
Yeah. Well, like I mean, if we've had this conversation. We both are in such agreement that Messi is the GOAT, and I agree with the point that you said. Like if I'm here in a top 10 list and it's not starting with Lionel Andres Messi after him winning the World Cup, I don't want to hear the rest of the list.
So
I don't
your
want to hear it.
list.
Like
It's
don't
gonna
even
start
keep
with like Pele, Maradona, Cruyff, Garincha. Have all the old timers in it.
like go ahead and jog on, bro. Like jog on, lad. I'm not
Keep
listening to
going.
yeah.
Keep
Like
going.
I'm not listening to your list, son, because
Carry on.
there is only one man to start off your list, and then after that, you can have it up for debate. And what's interesting is, this list is going to change potentially even within by the time 2026 World Cup comes around. Mbappe might be entering this list. At
Yeah.
that number 10 spot, number 9 spot. God knows
He's coming for those guys, man.
he
I
is.
mean,
I mean,
I
look,
see this entire list, and nobody on this list has a hat trick in the World Cup final. I mean, for all
eh,
the years of football, none of these guys do.
I think genuinely by the time 2026 rolls around, like you would assume he might be able to get a Champions League, and by then a couple Ballon d'Ors
I'd
potentially.
hope so. I'd
I mean,
hope he'd have a
I would
Champions League
hope
by
I would hope
2026.
so. And then I mean, you were talking about. I would probably put him over George Best at that point. Yeah, I'll put him over George Best.
I think he's already. I think he's already. If we're talking about where Mbappe is right now, it'd be hard. I think he's definitely top 25 already.
25. That's what I was gonna
Yeah,
say. That's what I was gonna
I say
say.
top. I say he's already within the top 25 players ever at 24 years old. I mean, that's something to behold. I mean,
Yeah.
but we'll have to see where he's at in 2026. I mean, God knows
I mean, but that's like a 27-year-old. That's like prime, pretty much. He's entering
that
his
that will
prime.
be his prime. That will be his
Oh
absolute
my.
peak of his powers.
I mean, bro, I mean, look. I mean, imagine the resume. I mean, he imagine he gets to a third World Cup final in a row.
What if he wins the Euros?
He might.
He could win the Euros.
I mean, would we be surprised? I mean, I can't wait to talk about the Euros, but
Yeah.
a couple years away from that. But I mean, look, are there any other grievances you think going on with either of our lists here? Well, we're not gonna have a grievance with your list, but
No,
my
I
list
I
here.
think we're able, to give it out. This is something I've wanted to talk about for a while, and it'll be exciting to when we have other people on. We'll be asking them their list because, like I told you off camera, for me it's hard to see any list being very different. Like obviously, I think for the most part we only have maybe like 2 or 3 players that aren't within our list, but most of them are the same. But I know there's a lot of people that just complete really. I've seen a couple lists that have like Dennis Bergkamp in their top 10. It's
Yeah.
like we didn't even like mention him, but like there's gonna be a lot of like differing factors. Like a couple maybe Eusebios, like a
I think a thing that we might end up doing here is that anyone who comes on to the pod in the future to talk some ball, you're gonna have to give us your top 10 list and announce it to the world. I think that's
and
something that
put it out there.
I think that would be a cool thing to do. I think we're gonna because obviously we plan on having some more people on to talk ball, in the future. Obviously, we always are trying to get more people on. People who we want to have on, and I think something we could do, is get them to share their top 10 list when they do come on. Because look, who doesn't love a top 10 list? And I think you know I don't know exactly when we'll do it. We already talked about it. We'll be doing our all-time starting 11 somewhat soon. We didn't want to do it right after we did our top 10 players of all time. We want to let this one sit because
Yeah,
some people aren't going to be happy with this list. I know that for a fact. You know,
there's a couple people. Yeah.
look, the grandpas who sit here and watch
Oh
YouTube,
God.
they're not going to be happy.
I can't, I'm already gonna get ringed out for being American talking about football.
well, that's coming, bro. I mean, come on. When we post this clip, I mean, come on.
Oh God.
But that's what it is. That's what comes with the territory, and I'm afraid. I'm not afraid to sit here and defend the guys on my list. I think that it's a fair list. I think, in my opinion, and the same thing with you. I mean,
Very
there's not
very fair list.
there's nothing that's outrageous. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god,
No,
how is he even in the top 10? Like, it's
yeah.
outrageous. Like, it's not like you put Bobby Moore or something like that on the
Bob,
list.
Muhammad Salah.
Like, oh god.
Right, yeah, nothing like that.
Yeah, no, nothing too crazy, but I think unless there's anything else in the world of football, any topic at all, any question you wanted to get out of that anything else in the world of football here
You
off the
know,
top of your
I
head, eh?
I think that might be it, and unfortunately, that might be the end of the our talking points for the World Cup. I mean that
Yeah,
it's sad. It's unfortunate. It's the last thing. It's probably the last thing we'll ever be talking about the Qatar 2022 World Cup.
it's quite sad, isn't it? Yeah, the end of
Yeah,
an era,
but yeah, the end of the greatest story, in football.
the
It's
greatest
just
story ever told. Better than it's biblical. You saying better than the Bible
the
almost.
no, it's second to the Bible. Don't you get me misconstrued here. But yeah, it's a bit, but it is a happy ending, and I'm glad it ended how it did, and back onto club football,
And
and
now we get to see Chelsea push on for their third Champions League.
they're not getting a third Champions League,
They're
but
getting it.
you
Yeah,
know, going on to switching from this football to American football. We're all wrapped up with the World Cup and all our top 10 lists. We got to touch back on some of the good old fashioned American football. How we like it down here. So I'll pass this little back off to you. What do we got first to talk about?
well, we like always here. Uh, look, we have pretty much gone through the whole season, giving our predictions week by week, and obviously we got to make that continue on here. I'm
Can't
gonna
stop
be
now.
I'm gonna be very interested to see like kind of a tally of who did better this season.
We'd have to look. We'd have to go back and through. I think there might be a couple weeks though that I missed because I just wasn't on.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think we might be when we get set up a little better. It'll be a little more clear. Look, all I'm saying, we've been talking about this for the entirety. We've been on the pod that we'll get better over time. When we have a better setup, we'll have like obviously everything better set up to
yeah.
keep up with stuff.
And we won't be dealing with you looking kind of pixelated sometimes here.
Dude,
So
look, yeah, look. If y'all understood where I actually live at, like, if any of you guys, I ever like show you guys where I live at, you'd understand how it's so bad. But I'm trying to thug it out, guys. Come on, you gotta bear with
and
me, man.
the
I only
TikTok
look similar.
the TikTok
TikTokers ain't
comments,
happy.
they
They're not
literally think
happy.
they think you recorded with a microwave. So
Dude, this isn't even a MacBook; it's a microwave. Y'all gotta be, cut me some slack here. I'm just an average American worker at the moment. I can't afford a mansion in the hills.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look, that hey, to be fair, that's how my internet was, before I got to move out here and go to college,
Yeah,
so if I was still in back home,
oh
I'd
god,
be the same way.
this would be the shoot it microwave, dude. This would be
Oh
the microwave
God, but
show.
we wouldn't be doing the pod, but before we get too carried away talking about your pixelation
Microwaves
and
and
all of that
shit,
and microwave, we can go ahead and get into our NFL Week 16 pick'em. We only got this week, so what? After we do this, there's 2 weeks left, and then we've got the NFL playoffs,
the
and
glorious playoffs.
I can't wait to talk about the playoffs. And we're obviously going to be being able to hone in on that, drop prediction videos, drop a full bracket, and
Hopefully
things
we'll
of
be
that
able, yeah.
nature.
Hopefully we'll be able to be have watch along live and be able to watch these games live.
Yes,
That's what we're working on, but
yeah,
it's something to look
we
forward to.
we are working on that as long as your pixelation
The
is good.
internet's not dying. I have TVs out here. Basically I live on the ranch, but I have TVs out here, bro.
Yeah, but look, without further ado, without any more waffling here, let's go ahead and do it. NFL Week 16 pick'em. Let's go. Jaguars versus Jets. Give me the Jags.
I'll take the Jags.
Falcons versus Ravens. Give me the Falcons.
I'll get the Falcons.
Lions versus Panthers. Give me the Lions.
Give me the Lions.
Seahawks versus Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs.
Give me the Seahawks.
Saints versus Browns. Give me the Browns.
I'll take the Browns.
Texans versus Titans. I got to go with the Titans here.
I go to Titans.
Bengals versus Patriots. Give me the Bengals.
I'll take the Bengals.
Giants versus Vikings. Give me the Vikings.
I'll take the Vikings.
Bills versus Bears. Got to go with the Bills, unfortunately, here.
Gotta go to the Bills.
Commanders versus 49ers. I got to go with the 49ers.
49ers.
Eagles versus Cowboys. I'm picking the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm taking the Cowboys too.
Raiders versus Steelers. I got the Raiders.
I got the Steelers.
Packers versus Dolphins. Christmas Day. Give me the Miami Dolphins.
I'll take the Dolphins.
Broncos versus Rams. Give me the
Oh
Rams.
Jesus. Oh my God. I'll take the Rams.
Bucks versus Cardinals. I'll take the Bucks.
I'll take the Bucks.
And then Chargers versus Colts. I'll go ahead and take the Chargers here.
Give me the Chargers.
Look, there was no way in hell I was picking the Colts after they blew the biggest lead in NFL history, bro. I mean, Jesus.
Matt Ryan, dude. It's time. It's time,
Hang
buddy.
up the boots, son.
My brother. Just hang it up, dude. That's a
How
a
many
horrible thing
comeback
to have.
losses do you have to lose before
How
you hang it
many?
up?
I can't even imagine being on his team of it's literally happening. The comeback's happening. You look at Matt Ryan and you're just like, what's happening? Like what? Why?
He's like, I've been here before.
It's like he looks at you and he's like, this is your first time? Is like,
Yeah.
this happens to him. But this week, probably another, not the most exciting games of all time. The only real marquee matchup that everybody's been kind of talking about is Eagles Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's the big one, the main one everybody's talking about. That Christmas could come early for the Cowboys, but there's a talks that Hurts he's hurting right now. He looks like he's a bit banged up. That I don't know if he'll play, which is unfortunate because obviously this to me was something I was really looking forward to, and it sucks that we might not get the Eagles at full strength versus this Cowboys team.
Yeah. Obviously, that's a huge talking point. I will say, and not that this is a medical guy by any stretch of the imagination, is actually the exact opposite. But Skip Bayless does believe that Jalen Hurts is
Oh
playing.
God.
So he
He's
does
called it.
believe
He
it.
says Jalen Hurts gonna play.
Exactly. So
He's a
look,
medical genius,
I think to be fair, I'm not gonna be able to pull a LeBron here because I'm gonna expose myself. Even if Jalen
Oh
Hurts was
God.
playing, I'm still picking the Cowboys.
Oh, I was gonna say the same thing as well.
So look, there's no LeBron from us. We're not going to go
Oh
back on
God.
our word and say we didn't know or we predicted it. No, either way, I'm still taking the Cowboys. I think that they obviously they're going to be looking to bounce back off of their kind of bad loss they took against the Jags, and Dak hasn't been playing good. But I think that they're going to step up in the big occasion, and especially if Jalen Hurts isn't there. But even if he is, it's going to be a very close game. If Jalen Hurts isn't there, it's probably going to be a somewhat close game, but more comfortable for the Cowboys. Um, I would just say that look, they did give up a bunch of points to the Jags. They gave up 40. I don't expect the Cowboys defense to be able to get thrashed like that back to back weeks. I think they're going to make adjustments.
Yeah, I don't
They're
think
going
that's
to
happening.
they're going to be able to change it up. And I could be wrong on this, but I just think Dak will be able to improve his play enough. Back to we're talking about I think we said it after they played what was it, the Vikings, that was the best
Yeah,
game Dak has
that
ever
was the
played.
greatest game Dak's ever played. Yeah,
And now he's fallen off, and now we're saying he's back on that. He's throwing a bunch
this is the
of
worst.
picks,
Yeah,
and he's throwing what, like 11 picks or something like that, or some ridiculous number.
damn it,
Obviously,
Dak.
he needs to fix that up. But I just think that I rate this Cowboys team, and I think they're going to be able to show some resiliency, show some grit, and they're going to be able to get it done against the Eagles. And in terms of what this game means, it's more just pride because the standings are what the standings are. This game isn't gonna
Yeah, they're kind of yeah.
this is not gonna change up the standings, but obviously, this could end up being a NFC Championship matchup or a divisional round matchup. In the playoffs, we might basically the point is we might see this matchup in the playoffs, and so this might if Jalen Hurts does play, this is maybe a prequel to what we're gonna see come January in the playoffs. So I think it's a kind of a gauging point, to see where we're at, with the Cowboys because they're gonna have to be able to beat a team like the Eagles come January, and that's what I mean. That's very soon, obviously. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think you said all you had to say about that one, but did want to move on to the other day on Christmas. The Dolphins play the Packers. So obviously, this game is fairly important for the Dolphins. So I wanted to
jeez,
pass it off to you that, what does this game mean for the Dolphins and how important does this game mean?
I mean, how important? If the Dolphins lose this game, we're not making the playoffs. That's it. This is the game. And oh my God, I can't believe it, to be honest. If you had told me that 3 games ago when we were, 8-3, that I would be saying that now we're on the verge of not making the bloody playoffs, I would have said you're lying. But ultimately, we played a 3-game stretch of the Niners, the Chargers, and the Bills, and we lost all 3. You had to come away with at least one win. I would have said we would have liked to come away with 2, but you got to at least come away with 1. And we came away with 0. It's painful. I would say we lost to Brock Purdy in that Niners
Brock
defense.
Purdy.
And then the game we had to have was the Chargers game. That's the one where I'm kind of kicking myself and saying, how did we really let this one slip away? Because
You're watching that one.
that's the reason why they're above us in the standings right now. And that's the reason why we're on the verge of not making the playoffs. If it comes down to it, the Chargers have that tiebreaker. That is not what you want. That is not what you need come playoff time. You want to have all the tiebreakers going your way. And that is one that we're not going to be able to get back. If us and the Chargers have the same record, they are always going to be above us. And that is not only putting us in a bad spot if we do make the playoffs, but it's putting us in a bad spot to even make the playoffs. And it has made this game against the Green Bay Packers so crucial. And I'm not going to sit up here and act like the Packers have been good this season, but they're still a team that on any given Sunday, like at most teams in the NFL, any given Sunday, anything can happen. I don't think you never want to be on a 3-game losing streak, confidence potentially a little bit low, and then you have Aaron Rodgers coming to town.
Yeah, like
You just never want to be
how
in that situation.
how tragic and how poetic would that be that we've on this entire episode if you said you've always said at least I'm going to get to see the Dolphins play in the playoffs this year. It's been so long that it comes down to what is your goat to
Knock us
rob
out
you, to
potentially.
knock you out and take that away from you, to let Aaron Rodgers, the guy that you've loved more than the greatest thrower of the football you've ever seen, like this guy to be the person, the reason that you don't see the Dolphins in the playoffs again.
It's literally, bro. It's like, oh, this only happens to me. It's like, bro, you can't
And,
write this shit.
and you know what's gonna be funny? Hopefully, I don't know if it's gonna plan out that well, but hopefully we can watch it with Jonathan. Jonathan, our Packers lover. It's gonna
Oh,
be
you're right.
you two pitted against each other. I mean,
But it's on Christmas. It's on Christmas Day at 1 p.m.
that's
To be
why
fair,
it's
I
gonna
don't know
be
if you
hard.
can.
Obviously we
We'll
all have
talk about it
families,
with them.
but we'll
We'll talk
talk
about
about
it
it. But
with them.
it's gonna be fun because we're all within the
Oh
same. We're all back
God.
home. We're all
Oh
back in
God.
town.
I didn't even think about that. But look, basically, bro, my analysis on this game is quite simple. The Dolphins should win this game. Does that mean we're going to win this game?
We
No.
should.
We're the better team in this game. I mean, at home, I mean, surely we got to win this game. You know, like it'd be one thing if we were on a 3-game losing streak where we look so pathetic, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, 49ers pretty pathetic.
That was
Chargers
bad.
very
Somewhat
pathetic.
pathetic. Yeah, very. Yeah.
And then Bills,
Not so
I'm still
bad.
I'm still kicking
Not so
myself.
bad.
I'm still kicking myself because that's a game where we let that one slip away.
I mean, to be fair, you lost to, Josh Allen. Josh Allen put on a virtuoso for the Dolphins. He definitely dominated y'all. Yeah, it was so bad that you couldn't even say his name. It was like Voldemort. Like you couldn't say Josh Allen's name after that game, and that's how bad it was. But
So what I'll say is this, like, I didn't want it to come to this. I have faith in this team though. I think even though it was a loss, the loss against the Bills gives me the faith that they are going to be able to get a result in this game and put ourselves back on track to make the playoffs. I think technically speaking, if the Patriots, Jets, if the Patriots and Jets lose and the Dolphins win, I think I saw we either are pretty much on the verge of clinching the playoffs or we clinch the playoffs. Obviously, that's a lot to ask for to happen this week. But I would love for that to happen. That's part of the reason
that's why
why
you picked against them.
kind of,
You're
but
hoping on you're hoping on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, you hopefully get that done. But yeah,
and then I'm hoping on Trevor Lawrence.
the Trevor Lawrence, that one's I think the biggest toss up in that one because I think obviously I trust in Joe Burrow to get that done, but the Jags and Jets, Jags come off
That's
a
it.
pretty good win. That's gonna be tough.
I would say though, what makes what your point is worse about the Dolphins potentially not making the playoffs because of Aaron Rodgers. What would make it even worse is that if we do fall out, it would be either the Jets or the Patriots getting in. That's like
I I
that's like
want
the
to see
biggest kick of the balls of all
the
time.
the Jets making it in. We gotta see that wonderful podcast we love so much talk about it. I want to see him talk about it.
I don't want to see him talk about it.
I want to see him talk about it.
But like, look, pretty much all things considered, I expect the Dolphins to win this game. If we don't, I might have to retire. That's what I'll end with. If we don't win this game, you might never see me again on
We'll
here.
we'll make the confirmation of how excited you were to finally see the Dolphins make the playoffs. How long has it been since the Dolphins made the playoffs? Can we be reminded again?
Technically speaking, it was 2016, but then before 2016, it was still a long time. And in 2016, it was pretty much like we showed up and then our quarterback got hurt. We were playing a good Steelers team, so I don't really even count that.
Oh God,
It's been a pretty damn long time since
it's been
we've
a
had a
while.
meaningful.
Oh,
Yeah,
how long has it been since you guys won a playoff game?
not in my lifetime.
And we might not even get the possible chance to see it. It's just
And
it comes down
we've
to
put
Aaron
ourselves. Look,
Rodgers.
what's messed up, and this is my final point. I do want to hear what you have to say because you did pick us as well. But my final point is because of the recent results and how we've pitted ourselves here, we might end up making the playoffs just to play the Kansas City Chiefs, man. Like
Come
we're
on,
the number 7
come
seed now,
on.
and we've earned ourselves a date with Kansas City. It's looking like unless and bruh, what's even worse is if it's not Kansas City, it's freaking Buffalo, bro. Like, oh
That's
my,
what you want. You wanted those two matchups, man. I mean, Tua was your MVP over both those quarterbacks. You gotta ride with them.
like like realistically, bro, like well, man, I don't even want to think about that. First of all, before I start thinking about what we could be playing in the playoffs, bro, let's go ahead and win this game against the Packers. But you
Let's
did
win.
pick,
Yeah, win that game first.
you did pick us as well. So what do you expect? Obviously you expect us to win, but what do you expect to happen in this game?
I'm basically obviously, born in Miami. I'm highly at 305. I'm still gonna somewhat back up my, the Dolphins a little bit. I'm a Heat lover, so I gotta show some love to the Dolphins, even though they're your team. Sometimes I like to see you sad, but this
It's
one
gonna happen on Sunday.
I'm expecting Tyreek Hill to do what he's done this entire season. Be that just it factor. Be Tyreek because that's what this team is led by Tyreek. I mean, people want to say it was led by Tua. It's led by Tyreek. Tyreek is their MVP. He's their best player. He's arguably the best receiver in the game, and that's what it's going to take. Tua's going to have to get the ball to Tyreek, and that's what it comes down to. If Tua plays poorly or he plays not, if he puts up a Chargers performance,
Oh God.
it's not going good. It's not looking good. But if he pulls up just a semi decent one, all you have to be is a decent quarterback. Literally, you could put me. Your dad was saying it could be your dad out there throwing the Tyreek. Like it's Tyreek Hill, and yeah, you saw Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's fully like healthy, right? He's fully good. I think.
Yeah. He should be fine.
He should be fine. Like you have arguably the best receiving core in football. Like you have all the weapons. You have to get it done. And I get the Dolphins defense is not the greatest and going up against Aaron Rodgers,
Bradley
but
Chubb ain't looking good, bro.
yeah, Bradley Chubb. But Aaron Rodgers, this isn't MVP Aaron Rodgers. This is like semi-washed, like
Yeah.
ayahuasca Aaron
Oh,
Rodgers. Like
ayahuasca.
you gotta capitalize on
You
this. I
do.
mean, like you have to. And I think, you know, it would be poetic that Aaron Rodgers just happens to kick the Dolphins out of contention. Jonathan gets that one over you, but
I
I
try.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't really, I think this is a somewhat I don't think it's enough pressure though. That's the only dangerous thing. I feel like there's more pressure I would count against Aaron Rodgers because I never fancy Aaron Rodgers in pressure situations. I don't think he's clutch, but this guy rules the regular season. He always has some weird fixation on the regular season to play good in regular season games. So this one doesn't have very much pressure. So it could be just something where he decides to just click it. It comes down to is Aaron Rodgers feeling it that day, but I'm betting the latter. I'm betting in the Dolphins, and I got Tyreek having, a Tyreek cheetah game.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, I think my final point on the Dolphins, we just had a 3-game losing streak. We should win our next 3 games based on who we're playing. I mean, it's the
Well,
Packers,
we'd
Jets, and
hope.
Patriots. We're better
Jet.
than all.
What if
We're
the
better.
Jets beat y'all?
We are
What if
better
the
than all
Jets
3 of
beat
those
y'all?
teams. I mean, that's like I don't even I don't even want to get into that.
If the Jets beat y'all, what are y'all
We
doing?
are a better team than all of the last 3 teams we play, and
Can't wait.
that's
Can't,
just
can't
what it is.
can we say if the Jets beat y'all, can you buy a Mac Jones jersey and wear it and like
If the
make an
Jets beat
Instagram
us,
look? Yeah, if the Jets beat y'all.
why would I buy Mac Jones? He's a
No, not
Patriots
Mac
quarterback.
Jones. No, what's his name? Zach.
Come on,
Oh, Yeah, Zach Wilson, not Mac Jones. What's wrong with me, bro? You got to do it.
is he even gonna? We don't know if he's gonna. You want me to buy the backup quarterback?
Yeah, you have to buy the worst player on the Jets team. It's only fitting.
No,
It's only fair
I mean
because look, he
if they
would be in
beat
the
us, to be
playoffs.
they could beat us and they still don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, but let's say if they do make the playoffs.
Then
Oh,
maybe
okay.
if
Then
okay if the Jets make the playoffs over the Dolphins, then I'll do it.
okay. That's good. That's good. That's good.
But
That's good.
that should not happen. I mean, look, bro. If I'm correct, I'm pretty sure I saw I saw a tweet today where we could clinch this week, bro. So
Uh, well,
the
we'll
thing
have to
is,
see,
the
but
thing is with the Jets is they have that tiebreaker over us, so it's like we can't really lose to them again because then it's a worst case scenario. Like we're pretty
oh
much
god.
tied with them. It's like that's not looking good at that point, essentially. So all things considered, that's a talking point for next week for sure. I mean, I'm not looking forward to it. Depending on, I mean, I might be looking forward to it, but I might not be as well. I don't know.
You could possibly be down and out.
We'll know in what 5 days or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but I think the final game to talk about is the flip side here. You know, we talked about my team. We got to talk about yours. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off of an absolutely disgraceful loss against the Cincinnati Bengals. We're talking about it. I mean, look, the first half they looked like
It
the
was looking
2020
good.
Bucks,
It was
and
looking good.
it looked like first half was 2020 Bucks, second half was 2022 Bucks.
They
What went
almost had me
wrong?
at the first half. They almost had
So,
me.
do you think that they can bounce back and get a good result against a banged up Cardinals team? And ultimately, I mean, they have to win this division. They have to be able to keep pace, and be able to retain their number one positioning in this division to make the playoffs. So do you think they're going to be able to win this game? Because they can't lose, realistically.
Yeah, they can't lose this game, and if they do, it's just gonna be a just so cataclysmic. I can't even. It's making me lose vocabulary. How bad it would be. it would be the worst look possible. Brady to come back just to
Missed the
miss the
play.
playoffs. Like it's like why? But it's fortunate and unfortunate. Obviously, you never like to wish upon injuries on anybody, but the Cardinals are banged up,
Very banged up.
so you can't. That's not the Bucks' fault, but the Bucks have to capitalize on that. I mean, they have to get this result on Christmas and keep their playoffs picture alive. Because really enough, we saw within how like it's kind of funny how it's somewhat competitive, but it's competitive with like bad teams. Each like team in their division is separated by like one win, but
One
they all have
game.
losing
Yeah.
records. They all have losing records, and
Yeah.
and I sent it to you like ironic as a joke. Is like this is the most competitive division. They're all one game away from each
In
other.
a way, it's right, you know?
But we gotta hope like I know I picked the Falcons to win, but like kind of hope the Ravens win. But
Yeah.
it's just one of those things to where it's gonna. I'm putting my trust in the goat. That I
Okay.
just watched the Messi the goat, and now I gotta switch back to Tom Brady the goat. So I gotta see. I'm putting trust in the goat. So I'm gonna, if it doesn't come out, I'm gonna die on my hill. As I died on picking the greatest ever. So that's how I'm gonna go out.
To be fair to the Bucks here, I mean that first half was so impressive against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, I was amazed. I was like, wow, this is the old Mike Evans. He was bringing out spin moves, bro.
Mike
I was like,
Evans.
my God, bro, like he turned back the clock here,
I
like,
don't know where this guy's been at. I don't know. He just
and
decided
then
to show it.
it was, I think it was a mixture of the Bucks regressing back to their normalcy, but then also Cincinnati turning the knob that they have and elevating their play. It was a mixture of both. So I don't necessarily blame the Bucks. I think the Bengals were the better team. They are the better team. It's not shocking that they lost the game. It's more disappointing that in the way that they lost it. So I think that in a way you can be more confident about the Bucks now than you were last week, even after a 17-point comeback loss. Because the fact that they were able to get that 17-point lead in the first place in the
And
dominant
and
fashion.
also to the fact it's against Joe Burrow. I mean, it's Joe Burrow.
He's a
It's
man on a
like
mission right now.
he's looking like the best quarterback in the league. I mean, if there's anybody like I said before going into that, if I were okay with losing to anybody, it's Joe Burrow. I mean,
Oh,
this guy is
baby
he's
goat.
just has everything. He's baby goat. I mean, we like I said, he wins the Super Bowl this year. He's in the goat debate. We're talking about
Oh
he's in the
my
goat
God.
debate.
Well,
But
we might be having that conversation come
I'm
February.
t- I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you,
The way
Joey
that they're
B.
playing, the way that they're playing right now. But
You're playing inspired football right now. They're playing pretty good.
and that's why it was impressive for the Bucks to do what they did in that first half. So in a way, like I said, I'm confident that the Bucks are going to be able to pick back up kind of where they left off. I mean, hopefully they can pick back up based on where they left off right at halftime. Hopefully they just forget the second half happened and pick back up on that first half performance. Because if they're able to play like that more consistently and fine tweak some of these things, they could be a team you don't want to play come playoff time. It's one of them things. The Bucks, they just need to get into the playoffs and look, the record, don't let it fool you. You don't really want to play them come playoff time. I mean, I wouldn't at home.
I mean, I've said this even like before, weeks before, even when they're looking poorly, that even if you're able to sneak in the playoffs, it's definitely not something you want to draw. That you don't
No,
want to have to play. You want to get someone less than the Bucks, because I mean it's Tom Brady in the playoffs. It's fucking Tom Brady, man. Like
I don't
you
care
just
what
don't want
record.
that.
I don't care what record this Bucks team has. If they are in the playoffs, realistically, like you're kicking yourself if you that's your matchup.
You'd
Like
rather
very
have somebody, yeah,
you would rather have somebody else if you could choose, just because of that aura. It's
the
just
aura,
it's kind
yeah.
of daunting in a way. So I mean, if they were playing somebody else other than the Cardinals, maybe I would still give that team the edge because the Bucks are not a very good team per se. But I don't see this Cardinals team being able to get it done. I mean, they don't really have much going for them right now. It's looking really bad. The injuries have derailed the season. They
Pretty
might be getting
poorly,
they
yeah.
might be getting rid of Cliff Kingsbury as head coach. The Cardinals is not looking good. It's kind of a shit show. I don't see this being particularly. It'll be a somewhat close game, but I don't see it too close. I think it's going to be Bucks take this one by maybe even 2 touchdowns. I think it's not going to be too crazy.
I think just from how the Bucks what they've shown this entire season, it's gonna be a fairly close game. And I think it might just be at the
I just
most
don't
it'd be a one score game.
I just don't know if the Cardinals can score, to be honest.
You would think that, but like I've seen, teams light up this Todd Bowles defense like it were nothing, and then and then we see small instances where the defense plays really well, and then there's instances where this defense looks about as open as a freaking porn star. Man, it's not looking
Oh
good.
God.
Yeah,
Oh God.
it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, for the Bucks' sake, they got to win this game. It's must win from here on in, pretty much. They can't really afford to drop a game. So it is going to be very interesting to see how the NFC South plays out. Obviously, 3 weeks left in the season. Um, the playoff mold is finally coming to fruition here. We can see how it's all going to start to play out here, and we're just really fine tuning the seeding. And obviously, we're going to see if a team like the Dolphins makes the playoffs, if a team like the Bucks, are they actually going to win the division, make the playoffs? All of those questions will be answered, coming very, very soon. But unless there's any other matchup or game you wanted to speak on in the NFL, I think that might be it.
I think that one wraps this one up.
So I think obviously this was a little bit back to normalcy. Beside the fact that G was a little bit extra pixelated this episode, I think it was
Sometimes it's a
back
holidays, dude.
back to normalcy, back to no World Cup, and obviously, club football is going to be back very soon. So we're going to be talking about that and NFL playoffs ramping up. So we got so much more to come. I
And we
will
do
say
promise the NBA will come back. It will. I
it
mean,
will.
we still love the NBA, but
The NBA is coming.
I
The
I
NBA is
think
coming
with
back. I think
it's coming back
everything was pushed back because of the World
of
Cup.
the
So now
World Cup.
so now we can kind of get back into the groove of
NBA
things.
had to be sacrificed,
It
but
did. It did. It did.
it had to
Unless
be
y'all wanted a
sacrificed.
5-hour episode, Brad. I didn't even want to
Oh,
record that.
I can't do 5 hour, bro, unless it's some type of the
Live
milestone
stream.
thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing no 5 hours sitting here, and God knows no one's watching till 5 hours. No one's doing that.
No,
I'm not
no, no.
even doing that.
Yeah, I don't even want to edit that.
I don't want to do that.
So, the NBA will be returning here. We've been watching it. We've been seeing the highlights. We've been seeing all of that. There's been some
We
takes
keep an
where
eye on it.
there's been some times I've wanted to give a couple takes. I'm heating them up. I'm cooking them up because, look, the Lakers, they're looking
Oh
good.
my
But
God, they're
that's
not looking good.
but that's a story for another day, another pod. We will talk about the Los Angeles Lakers very, very soon.
I hope we
You can
don't.
have that to look forward to.
I
But
don't look forward to it.
I look forward to it.
Oh God,
But
no.
and that's why you're wearing them on your shirt. But
Bro, this is when they were good. This was that Shaq and Kobe, bro. Don't you dare compare them to this fraud
like
Lakers.
Goat
Oh
James.
God.
But I think without further ado, we can go ahead and wrap this one up officially here. So I just wanted to go ahead and thank everyone for checking out this episode of the Shooter Straight Podcast, episode number 36. We're going to have some more content coming out very, very soon. And we appreciate the continued support. Leave a comment on anything that we talked about. Drop your opinion. Drop your top 10 list. Drop what you think is going to happen in the Dolphins game. All that types of things. Leave it on the comments. Hit a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And hit that subscribe button. We got the banner ticking there the whole episode. Look, we're at 420 right now. We're on the verge of,
420.
we're not on the verge necessarily, but we're trying to get to that 500 mark. So
Trying to
we
get to at least
appreciate.
450. Yeah, they get
Yeah.
to
Oh,
the
yeah. Well, it was
450.
always a baby step. We're trying to get to 430 first. So
430.
we appreciate the continued support. Appreciate everyone who has hit the subscribe button. And I think, without further ado, we can go ahead and get this one out of here. Unless you wanted to say any final words.
No, I think you said it all very well, and I think we're ready to wrap this one up.
Well, so this is episode 36. I'm your co-host Zach,
I'm your co-host G.
and we will see y'all next time for episode 37. Peace.